I go to the wind.
Yeah, I don't know when we're actually supposed to start singing that.
Beau should give us a nod because he knows. You know, Beau.
Yeah. I should listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah. James Hetfield.
Hello, folks. This is Beau Mansfield. This is the Beau Show, and we're here with my guest, Whitt Daniels.
Woo!
Now, is there a Condit? Is that part of your name?
Yeah, that's actually my last name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
yeah, I just like to go by Whitt Daniels because it's cooler sounding. Seriously, it's my middle name. It's my middle name, but
okay.
But it's like multiple first names.
All three of mine, or I have all last names.
You got a lot of people
Whitt
backing you up.
Daniels, Condit, they're all last names.
Now, do we need to get you a mic?
No.
Okay. By the way, we're recording this through the kind auspices of both the Funk Sitch and Doug Rader.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you for your engineering help, but you're off mic.
I'm off mic.
Okay.
I was on mic this morning, but he didn't like it. So.
Oh.
You were on mic this morning?
He
But you're on mic again, though.
I'm again.
Mike needs to breathe.
He's got to take a break.
Hush over there, you off mic person. now here's why we have Whitt Daniels, Condit, whatever,
Witty
on
D.
our show
The Witty D.
The reason we have you on is because, well, first of all, you're a fellow musician that I've known for a couple, 3 years now, I'd say. And one thing is, like, you just are always so encouraging to me.
Well, that's
And I'm
good.
always so happy to see you in any of the shows I do if you happen to be able to come to them and stuff. And you guys usually play too late
Right.
for me to hang out that long and then have the brutalization of
Right.
the music that you guys
Oh,
perform.
yeah, it's very,
when then I still have to drive
intense.
home and then probably get up for my church job on Sunday morning, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. But whenever you put a link to any of your new stuff on Facebook, I always see it. And if you were at like an afternoon show during the festival or something, I would be there.
Absolutely.
So
You've always been a big
we're
positive source for
compatriots
us.
as different musically as we are, but then that's what I think is, I know you to be at least theoretically very open-minded musically, like the other two guys in your group, 2 or 3 guys.
Right.
They are a little more genre oriented, I think.
Well,
right?
possibly. I think actually they might be a little bit more deep than I am. when it
Really?
comes to- yeah, because they know a lot more about country western,
I see.
the whole punk movement. I mean, they could tell you anything about those two things, and where I don't really know as much about that stuff. But I
you got
listen
the
to
wide range of
little bit
mainstream
more-
material, right?
kinda. I don't really touch mainstream too much.
I'm not talking about recent stuff. I'm talking more like, classic rock and what all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm big into stoner rock now.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Just the heavy,
Uh-huh.
weird psychedelic
From
stuff.
Black Sabbath to
Yes.
Queens of the Stone Age or whatever.
Yeah,
the hell.
and, yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep and all
well,
that kind of
anyway,
stuff.
the thing is that like you so and I was thinking about how much Facebook is in our lives, just to all of us these days, and you're about 30, right?
Yeah, 29. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be 45 in about a
right.
month. And so it's like there's not very much difference in how Facebook is in our lives.
Right.
So maybe some even younger people,
Sure.
like in teenagers, it's got to be some other kind of nightmare for them.
I would
But
imagine
with
so.
us, it's like, I notice, I don't know you that well, but I think what you are on Facebook is pretty much who you are. And
yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yes.
As different as you and I can be in certain respects. And
Sure.
I'm older, so I have like I quit drinking 3.5 years
Sure.
ago or so.
Everybody's different.
And then,
Everybody's
there are going to be some
Nothing wrong with
differences, but we're ourselves. And you break a bunch of unwritten, gender role expectations rules in your posts on
Right.
Facebook. You are like, you do. Let me see. I wrote down a phrase at my friend Charmaine's earlier today, and then actually I asked her to write it down because I was in the
Is
midst
she the
of
one
a
you did an
flurry of
interview with?
expectations.
Didn't you just do an interview?
I
with
did.
her? Okay,
yes.
I watched that. I
Oh,
watched
cool,
that last night.
cool. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
But it's sort of pioneering to me because it's like a wanton display of agony. What you'll put on
Right.
there. And it's like, at first it used to make me nervous for you because I was like, I don't want this man to be in true despair. And what can I possibly do other than say something idiotic like, oh, it should be okay.
Right, right.
I can't do that.
Sure.
And in written form, it doesn't have the same, it'll be okay.
Right.
It
It's just words on the
that's-
screen
You have
at
to
that
have a
point.
person there to say it. You
Right.
can't.
I agree.
But you will just be like, I love you too, because you just will break all the rules of what, like, how a man is thought of in our at least backward part of the country. How we're
I'll
supposed
agree
to
with
act.
that.
You'll just say, a girlfriend would be nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, damn it, it's true. I know men aren't really
I love
supposed
it.
to
We're
talk.
not supposed to write.
We're not supposed to talk
Yeah.
about feelings or emotions or any of that shit, but I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't give two fucks.
Oh, I
if
love
I'm
you
feeling
for
it,
that.
that's how I'm
You
feeling
are
it.
a hero in this way.
So I
And-
have to kind of limit myself, though, 'cause,
Sure,
you know,
it's-
like,
it gets over the top or whatever.
yeah, because it seems like I'm reaching. It's just more that I just want people to understand a little, because I don't talk to a whole lot of people throughout the day.
And you can
So
do
that
it a little
Facebook is
safer
like
on
my.
Facebook now.
It's like, hey, everybody, I'm really pissed off at this moment, or really sad, or whatever the fuck, and I'll say it. And then like an hour later, I look back and like, man, I probably shouldn't have put that on there. But you know what? That I wasn't like.
You're trying to deal with it though, is the thing. Whatever it is, you're
I'm trying to make sense of it. So that's my
what
expression.
people don't do when they're squashing it down right. And so, and then I'm like, you know, I also figure I hear you speak with a certain kind of like. I don't think it's false. I think it's just a natural. It's not happy-go-lucky, but like a jovial. That's the word I'm looking for. A jovial personality. And so when you have these like deeply melancholic posts, I'm like, see, I don't know whether that's who I am. And then I'm like, wait a minute. When I'm in the shower in the morning. Have every sociopathic thought.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing.
I'm a scary, violent person when I'm in the shower.
Right. Because as humans, we have fucked up thoughts.
Yeah.
We have fucked up desires, and we're trying to make sense of it. And I think about this shit a lot, and I'm sure a lot of other people do. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'll get really self-conscious, like, man, am I a sociopath? And I'm like looking this shit up, and I'm like, no, I'm just a fucking normal person who's depressed.
Right.
That's really all it is.
Well, and sociopath is not so much that, like, being willing to be...
Or narcissistic,
Sorry,
I guess, is more...
Right, well, but if it is narcissism, it's the you'll say, sometimes you'll say you're depressed, sometimes you'll say, you know, people are assholes or something, you know, because you've been let down in some way or another, and you don't even get into detail.
I try not to because I don't want.
I like that.
I don't want to put somebody else's name out there.
You're not.
I'm not going to shit on somebody.
Right.
That's not my. That's not my
You're
purpose.
expressing your feelings without particularly right, and that's great.
And if people want to ask me about it, they will or they won't. That's up to them.
Plus, it shouldn't be on a public thread. That would have to. Right.
I'm not out there to.
So you aren't a sociopath by any stretch of the imagination. You have a little bit of an exhibitionism going on with like. Punishing yourself.
Yeah,
but
I can
it's
do that
mostly
a lot.
when you are taking onto yourself what you think somebody else thinks of you that like hurt your feelings.
Yes.
And I mean, I've been there. I've done that in my life. I'm not telling you that I'm somehow beyond all such things.
Right.
I just notice it. It's so much easier to notice somebody else doing that.
I agree with that. There's a couple of people I notice who are a lot like me that post things, similar things that I'll post, but they may go into it more than I do. And I'm like, well, I completely understand that person.
Yeah.
So I can't really criticize.
I just am really elated talking to you about this right now. It's kind of odd because I think, well, it's also the end of the week. And it's a nice time, you know, and everything.
Right.
It's a beautiful day out today. But it's just that I think it's also that it's kind of, I think I just knew this about you instinctively without us having to actually talk about it too much because of... when you were at my show at the Blue Bonnet one time, I was doing Fluffy.
Oh, yeah.
Ween,
absolutely.
And you were mouthing every single one of the words with me. And I couldn't keep it together for the very last on the porch. I was on the porch. You know, like that.
Well, it's a beautiful song. About a beautiful dog, a man and his dog.
Why'd you do it, Fluffy? Fluffy chewed his leg on. God damn it.
Well, you had to give it to Ween for writing a fucking song
so
about a dog
Penny and Fluffy and Piggy on the path.
Yeah, absolutely.
She chews her leg.
But not on the porch.
No.
No.
On the couch.
Or on the couch. Or on the fucking living room floor.
But it was like, and then I also talked about how I didn't have very many, in fact, only one song that I have written in many, many years that I think you could call a regular love song. It's sort of like, please love me.
Right.
That kind of love song. Not, I love you, I'm just so happy.
Right.
Or,
no, please.
Or
please love
you've
me.
broken my heart, but I still love it. No, more just the kind of, I'm taking a shot.
Please.
You know,
please love me.
I'm not drinking a shot, I'm actually taking a shot. I used to drink shots. Now I'm going to try to take shots. Sober.
Yes.
What the fuck's wrong with me?
I know.
But anyway, no,
well,
it's
you
like...
got to take shots.
So, yeah, you do. So, but I just, I think that's what the song was about. And I was talking to you, I was like looking at you, and you just looked at me when I was talking about this on stage. And you were like, yeah, like you seemed to know where I was coming from and how you and I were having a moment enjoying some kind of sentimentality. Like I was not totally mocking the sentimentality, but I was also sort of like laughing at the slight uncomfortableness of this. Right. And the fact that we were able to do that, I was just like, this guy really comprehends a lot of stuff. And yet you're in like a slam-bangy, crashy, loud band.
Yep.
You know, but I played keyboards on like a third of the first album that was before you were in the band. Yeah. And it was just in the studio. I played like 1.5 gigs with them. And the one gig, this is before you were in the band, Nolan and Vanessa were throwing shit at each other on stage.
Well, you get those two in a room together,
and
something's
like
going to happen.
Playing keyboards on the side, looking like Mike Love, you know. I'm trying not to drink back then, and you know, like I hadn't gotten it all together yet. But I think I was sober when I played with Psychotic Reaction. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
Those two, when you get Nolan and Vanessa in a room together, you never know what's going to happen. I think there's a nice common hatred between the two.
And I guess we should talk about it. I almost wonder if we oughtn't to edit this whole part out. But it's not your fault. It's my fault. Because I was talking about when I was in the band that you were in before you were there. But it doesn't matter.
But Facebook presence, that's kind of where we were.
Where
we originally started.
Me back on track on my show. Yes. No. I mean, like you... Oh, hi, Sydney.
Oh, poor
Sydney the dog, ladies and gentlemen. May need some attention. But, you know, like, you...
come see me. There you go.
You come out and you'll come to shows that are people that are, like, totally unrelated musically. And like... So, but what I always wonder is, like, are some of our groups around here... Our finest, most interesting artists going to suffer by comparison to people who are more aggressive about getting representation and publicity and things like that? And how much do our lives interfere? Like, I have the kind of life, I'm old to not have a kid, but I don't have a kid. And that's why I am so doggedly... Hi, Sydney.
You got
doggedly... pursuing what I do, and Whitt is loving on Sydney.
I love it.
Because Sydney's lovable. The Siberian Husky type of a dog.
She's a sweetie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but you know, when you go out there and you're seeing things that aren't necessarily like what you would do, you want those people to have like better attendance at shows and stuff like that. And a lot of the time we don't have. But I have this weird feeling that if we just keep doing whatever it is that we're doing, something will give at some point. But now you just were talking about how you guys had a song on a soundtrack of a Canadian film.
Yeah, Bloody Knuckles. Yeah.
Are you tired of talking about that?
Nope.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, as far like we had a comp that.
By the way, Whitt Daniels plays drums in Psychotic Reaction.
I'm the drummer for Psychotic
I just have to
Reaction.
make sure I made it clear.
Matthew DeGroat, I hope I'm not fucking his name up, but he put us on a compilation out of New York, and there's this, I guess he had a friend that was doing this movie.
Are they kind of like garage rock oriented type of?
They're just kind of all over, a little bit maybe more.
Everything heavy.
It's not real. No, it's more on the lighter side of stuff.
Indie.
Maybe more indie.
Yeah.
Instead of more punky, which is fine. But they put this movie out, and Bloody Knuckles. It's a horror comedy, which is kind of perfect. And we somehow wiggled our way onto this fucking thing. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, chaotic, weird...
What song?
Get You Alone, which is it's pretty good. Yeah, it's talking about getting a girl alone, which now that I say it out loud sounds really,
sinister
really bad.
Well, you
little
know,
rapey.
There's a thing about, there's like, we have this strange culture where yeah, Facebook, that's the thing. I see people bragging about their relationships, and I immediately have to decide whether I'm unfriending them right this second, or like unfollowing the fuck out of them right away.
Well, I'm
but
sure
I have to think about.
I've alienated enough people on Facebook. At this point, I don't really care. Like, I do care, but it's like, well, fuck it. You know, I don't know if they've unfollowed me or not.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it doesn't really fucking matter. It's just Facebook.
I don't even know how you find out. I can, but I don't know.
I don't.
But like how we can be ourselves. Like, I think what we are taught as kids, and this applies to everybody. This is certainly not gender specific, but we're taught how we're supposed to not display certain things about ourselves, or like goddamn hide near everything about ourselves.
We're
so
expected to do
anybody
certain things.
that steps outside of that and is like revealing of themselves in some way on Facebook, again, especially if they're managing not to like mention names and do any kind of like actual flame war shit, then it's really striking a blow towards getting to be a healthier society. But I just know, like, then you've got to, like, you've got to keep unfollowing the hell out of all these people you would like to be nice to, but you're like, no, it just doesn't
I don't
me
really
too much.
care. Yeah, you're annoying me. Yeah. I get it.
You are. I don't think I've got a single Trump follower in my gaggle, but I've got a few.
If I do, I don't know.
1,500 friends or whatever it is, and maybe 700 of the friends at restaurants.
Right.
I guess it's like if one of them is a cruise supporter or something like that, I might be surprised.
Sure.
But you do have the people who, a lot of whom were like classical musicians of a certain bent. You get with classical musicians, you got the hardcore lefties, very like, I don't just want gun control, I hate guns, so I don't like the 1812 overture,
right?
Because it has the cannons in it,
right?
Okay.
It's like,
or you got major PTSD, and I'm not like trying to make fun of that, but at the same time,
sure,
I don't know,
right?
And then, or you got the kind who are like, don't really care so much about what the Tchaikovsky piece of music has going on. It doesn't have any vocal parts or something. Or there's no oboe in that one. Or, well, of course there would be. But I mean, like, whatever it is, there's no xylophone, so I don't really care about it. Or they're like, well, but, I mean, that was good music for former President George W. Bush to be seen arriving at, because, he really looked great. He's still looking great. So you got, like, three different distinct kind of, like, classical musicians right there. And if Tim Stevens were here, he'd say, "You lost your audience again." He wouldn't yell at me that way, but he would say it quieter, and then it would hurt more because he said
it is interesting how you'll know people on Facebook only through Facebook, and like whatever weird name they have on Facebook, that is their name to you forever.
Sure.
And like in person, you will call them.
I had
that
to
name.
friend up somebody on principle that I don't know who she is. She looks to be about 22.
Sure.
And so I'm thinking, I hope she understands I really just want to friend her up because of her ridiculous name, which is Sassafras M. McSweatypants. So whoever the hell you are, Sassafras, I asked to friend you up on principle because of your name, and you let me friend you up. So that's a cool person to me that would let me do that. But, am I trying to, like, get to know her or something? No,
you just like
it's
the name.
Like anybody with that name, sort of, I want that other people can see that on my news feed or something. So we need to sort of get this to an end, but I'd like to let you. Oh, we need to break, is what Doug was telling me.
Take a break.
So let's take a break, and then I'll be more organized for the rest of it.
There we
Okay,
go. Sounds good to me.
You're listening.
Dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum-dum. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Dum-de-dum intermission type music, and totally stolen from Ween, whatever, Diener, I think we talked, not sure, it was on the email the other day, it was a weird thing, but maybe I'll get around to that another day, but it was kind of a strange experience. It was good, he was liking my stuff. Okay, yeah.
We're back on the Beau Show here with Whitt Daniels and Psychotic Reaction, and we were just kind of saying that
Just hashing some stuff out.
that's true. We were working it out in our own way. And what is it that we're working out, though?
I don't know.
I don't either. So
Whatever.
what it is, I think, though, that we could talk about is the fact that music is very important to us, and we're kind of, I've had a lot of people on my show, as many as I've had, let's say, 2 or 3 of whom are musicians in
Sure.
one form or another, but we haven't talked much about music. But with you, I'm wanting to know, like, what makes you tick, like, what inspires you, like. Psychotic Reaction has a very retro quality as far as songwriting is very similar to not necessarily as much the album that I was on. That had a mid-60s sort
they
of
were
retro
more
quality.
They were
garage rock.
more
And then it turned
lighter
into the late
and early,
60s,
yeah.
in the early 70s, grungy Michigan rock kind of stuff, like
the MC5,
MC5 and the Stooges, and so... and a keyboard player doesn't fit into that sound quite as
Not
much
as much,
into
yeah.
the garage, at least theoretically. But, I mean, because, like, the Music Machine, if you know that, what I'm talking about, Talk.
Yeah.
I wanted to play that with them when they were
Right.
when I was briefly playing with them, but I was like, this song is a bastard to learn.
Yes.
In the incarnation of Psychotic Reaction, between the first one that I was helping them in the studio and then the one that you're in, there was one in between those two.
Well, we just done a 4th one.
Oh, I see.
We just finished a 4th one. Yeah.
Okay, at least one in
know,
between
I know.
then, something
Yes,
like that.
yeah, the second one.
At least somewhere in there, I was trying to teach them a song, and it was impossible. And what I don't really know is, like, how people come up with songs and learn them and play them together and stuff when. I guess it may be because I wasn't in the band. They didn't want to bother with it, but it was sort of like, I think it was because I didn't know how to get their attention. And that's because I've worked with another type of musician completely.
Yes.
But what do you guys do when it's is it playing it through more than anything else, that like you then you play
learn?
it through and then you talk it through? Yeah, how do you do it?
Or like writing songs?
Yeah, like when you're writing a song, you then have to learn it to play it or something.
Well, it's weird. I know Bobby, he comes up with most of the riffs nowadays, at least the core. But we jam
Right.
on that and around it, and then shape a song around that, and then it usually turns out it always is in a practice. And some songs that they were literally, we came up with them in a practice during a jam and then played them at the show that night, and they sounded perfect. But that's the beauty of us, like we all do it equally. It's there's no one person doing more work than the other as far as
It's a very rare
song.
deal,
Yeah,
that.
and like we get along
Yeah.
so well. It's like it literally is a family
I mean,
to me.
I mean,
So it makes songwriting and playing easy.
not
when you really enjoy the people
not to
you play
invoke
with.
Eagles in the midst of punk and stuff,
Right.
but Don Henley was saying that, like, he and Glenn Fry, after a certain point, basically ran the Eagles, and was like, because, in terms of a band, a benevolent dictatorship functions best.
It
And
seems
I
that
just
way.
don't know that always has to be true. I think, I had this jazz fusion band once, Extra Ginger, and I didn't want to be the only composer in it because it wasn't going to be primarily vocal, and if it was, there were going to be covers that I was singing that were off the beaten track, like Smile by Laura Nero, or Perfect Angel, which Stevie Wonder wrote but Minnie Riperton sang. Right? And it was one of the few where she didn't hit like crazy ass high notes, so I could do it an octave lower and it wasn't wrong exactly, but when I was putting it together, I was like, one reason I love Fish is Trey Anastasio writes the bulk of things, but everybody else is writing. So certainly Mike Gordon and Paige McConnell would write a song here or there, and it was always interesting to have that there. And I wanted my group not to just be my stuff. So I kind of had to drag it out of them a little bit. Like Blake Lennon wrote one piece and Luke Melanix wrote two pieces. And but then it was that they were like, no, we want you to write more. And when you have people that are willing to play it and don't charge you much, that was the only trouble with those guys.
Right.
They had so many cover band type gigs or bar gigs.
Sure.
What they don't necessarily be cover bands, but bar gigs that paid, that they had to fit me in to the schedule. And if I had had my own fortune to put behind it, I just would have bought them. I would have,
right.
Yeah, and that would have been a very comfortable unit, but it would have been completely upper middle class doing it that way. I mean, there's no fucking way to do that, right? But I mean, that's the closest to the band democracy situation. After that, I've pretty much I've written everything. I've been open to ideas, but I've written everything.
Right.
And it's been mostly like, tell a bass player, here's what you play.
Yeah, it is not that way.
And then like a drummer, I let them develop it, but I'll say, let's always have, you're playing on the downbeats and I'm playing on the upbeats in this measure here. And they'll figure it out by ear after a while. Like, my language will mean nothing to them. Or I'm poorly explaining it. This is the other thing. It's like, I can know how to do all kinds of stuff internally, but that would be the difference between the music educator and the musician. Like, I'd be a pretty poor music educator, I think. I can run a rehearsal of a choir a little bit, not conduct them well, but I can, especially if I'm doing it from the piano. Not that this is very pertinent to what we were talking about, but it just makes me think of, like, what is it that I can do and what is it that I can't do, and how, like, a band like Psychotic Reaction in this incarnation is like pretty Neanderthal, right? I mean, like, it's pretty crunchy. It doesn't have the pop as much as the heavy rock.
It's really, dirty, high energy rock and roll is really what we're trying to do.
And that
even
was
if it's
what
slow and
MC5
intense.
and Stooges did. Yeah, that's what they did.
Yeah.
Count Five, or those people, after which Psychotic Reaction is mentioned.
Yes.
That was not crunchy at that same degree.
No. It was still great.
Yeah.
But just different great.
And,
But I've even wrote songs in the band.
Yeah.
Like on the guitar.
Yeah.
And they'll, that's what they respond off me, I feed off of them, and it's just, it really is equal. And
well,
it's
so
nice.
what are the
Really
musicians outside of the band that inspire you the most? That, like, because that's what I was thinking. That I can just sense about you how terribly important music is in your life, and it's like I'd be utterly lost without it. So
yeah, it's a lifesaver. I mean, it really is, because like Jack White is probably my biggest influence. Like I kind of grew up on the Seven Nation Army, about a girl, or whatever that girl song was. I fell in love with the girl.
Okay.
The very first kind of pop hit. And because he does guitar, he'll play drums. And he's not really in the realm where I follow him as much.
Right.
He's kind of bloomed into this pop star, and it's like,
it's not as
whatever,
interesting.
dude. Okay, now you're kind of egotistical, and it's kind of shitty, but as a musician, I totally respect him. Like he's weird, he's a little different, but it was just nasty, fucking blues.
Right. Yeah.
But it was real, like that. I mean, you could. I forget the song. It might be Offend in Every Way, but it's, to me, I've always called it the sexiest song I've ever heard, because I feel it, like I feel it on the inside of me, and it's weird. I'm starting to get that now with more of the music I'm listening to. I feel like I found my home for music, like my core. I finally found it in the heavier, like, psych rock, because there's just something about those lower tones that just kind of, you feel it. There's more vibration, of course, lower frequencies, yada yada yada. But I don't know. That's kind of Jack White, like you mentioned, influences. And as for drumming wise, like my first love was Dave Grohl, Nirvana. And then it became Lars, Metallica, which I know a lot of people shit on Lars.
You know what? Well, the funny thing is it's like, I'm not saying that I would know Lars personally now, like I would know what he really is like, or what the how he would act in any circumstance.
Yeah, I don't know
anything about it. But on principle, there's things like one time there's a like a junior high kid in England or something doing an interview like he did, like sometimes these people will do with like a junior high kid or whatever. And he's asking something like, when did you first get into music? And he looked at him for a minute, this 13-year-old kid or whatever. He's like, this is a very good question. And starts talking about it, whatever. But it was sort of like, he didn't ask him, when did you first play drums or whatever. It was like,
when did you get into music?
It was like, what drew you to this? And because that's your job. And I thought, Lars, there's something going on there. Just a real genius. I don't know the whole thing with Elektra Records or whatever the fuck.
Right.
I'm sure that's a big problem and everything.
Yeah.
And why he was
there's always more to a story. We only know so
company
much.
line.
Right.
But that was how people made their living that way. So when they get that rich and then it's all over, all like overnight, it's all over. You could flip out, I would imagine. I don't know.
I would think so. Back another influence, Rocky Erickson. The Elevators, like.
And you said you don't remember because you were drunk.
We met him. It was 2 years ago yesterday, or the day before.
Yeah.
Down in Dallas, and we went back behind the venue. You know, he's about to get on his bus, and his whole band's out there. And I guess I remember shaking his hand, telling him about how much of an inspiration he was to us and how important he was. You know, he's Rocky. He's like, well, you know, all right, great. You know, well, okay, all right, thank you. You know, and I don't really remember much after that. I remember I fell down in the gravel and made my forehead bleed. I only fell on my forehead. And the only theory I had come up with on how that actually happened, I had a camera bag, and I had went to either set it down or pick it up from the ground. And I didn't make it back up. So, because it was only one probably, I don't know, golf ball size spot on the right part of my forehead. And it wasn't my face, wasn't anywhere else. So I was like, yeah, I must have literally just leaned over and kissed the ground with my forehead. But it was Rocky. There's just something about that guy and his story. It's, I don't know, it really hits me deep, you know.
Well, I mean, when you were like 12 years old, who were you listening to?
12.
Those were the people?
It was Backstreet Boys and, the pop radio.
Okay.
Because I had no idea of anything else. I knew the Rolling Stones because my mom was obsessed.
Right.
My very first song I ever remember, it was Iron Man by Sabbath. Yeah. And that I vividly remember playing it on a little tape recorder over and over and over. I had 9 years old. Yeah. You know, and that's the very first time I remember music.
Well, with me, I want to say, Mom says that when I was 2 years old, I think the song was like a year old. Love Train by the OJs. Apparently, like I would dance or something. I don't know. And then, or run around, like crawl all of a sudden, or I don't know. And then I remember running around the room though to MacArthur Park. The Richard Harris. There's this large instrumental passage in the middle that gets very, very intense, and it's just terribly exciting. And I was like running around the room, or like the theme to The Price Is Right.
Right.
Ran around the room, or like that just like made me run around the room. And I remember, though, being 4 and sitting next to my mother, because my mother played piano, my father played piano.
Right.
So my dad was usually at work, and I just killed Doug with the Price is Right and the MacArthur Park and all that. But okay. Well, anyway, I remember the piano, and I was sometimes able to do things by ear, but sometimes just fiddling around way up on the high notes, trying to make my hands play octaves, but in no particular order. And it was fun. And then she started to show me some stuff by rote, and it's too long a story from there. I won't do it to you right now, nor to the listeners. But I think what we should do, though, I've been so grateful to you to come, and we're striking a blow against toxic masculinity.
Fuck it.
We're striking
I'm a man. Blow. Give me my beer and my man bun. Yeah.
See, I don't want. I want a woman in something other than a cigarette form.
Yeah.
But right now, all I have is the cigarette form version, so that's what I'm going to do. And I can't drink anymore because that's me.
Sure.
But
that's a good thing. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
at all.
I guess that we'll be musical together to end this today.
Good.
And
good.
We'll do a song that has meant a great deal to all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
You, for the least amount of time. Like, I've known this song maybe for 4 years or so.
Right.
And Doug's known it for
12
right
15
when it came out originally, and then so this is what for you, like in the last year. But when I performed this song at the
he's
Blue
over here
Bonnet,
taking pictures of the computer screen.
we have had a meltdown. Hold on.
I did. I had a meltdown.
Okay.
Okay. You want to know why?
Sure.
Because I accidentally turned you into a black dude.
What?
Look at that! Look at that little filter on that. I got an image.
I think I look a little like
You look like a black dude.
like if Teddy Pendergrass were heavy. That's what I look like. You know?
That's actually
You!
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
You got what I want. Holy
I like this version of him better.
With this thing, and like that's what I ended up with. I just like couldn't handle it.
That's
I was
awesome.
Like, dude, I just couldn't go into it.
Close the
And
door.
that's not a bat. I mean,
Let me rub your
can't
back where you say it's
definitely
so.
not release that as
No.
a joke because
Okay.
nobody will understand that I love black people.
Well, now here we. This is going to make it sound worse, even though I know
No.
what you're saying.
What?
I'm being paranoid. Don't listen to me.
You're fucking
ahead.
this up.
I'm fucking it up. Forgive me. Okay, you go ahead.
Yeah.
Aren't we gonna
Too
sing a
late.
song?
Good thinking,
Let's
Whit.
sing a song.
Yes, before
We're
it
not gonna
devolves
talk
further
about
into
Yes.
utter bullshit. Okay.
bullshit.
All right.